Sick.
Boom. I think we've got it, bro. I think that we're good. I see bars moving. I see lights lit up. I see you. So everything has got to be good, right? All right, State of CS number 5. Everybody welcome. And, well, it's just going to be my homeboy Anders and me. It's just going to be Anders and me this week. It's all good. So what's up, Anders? You good, man?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, just another day. I'm traveling out to Bucharest tomorrow, so I should have packed all my stuff, and I haven't. It's the same old thing,
Yeah, that's pretty much like you are notorious, dude, for packing at the last minute and then forgetting things as well.
Yeah, I've just accepted the fact that that's just who I am. So I don't try and change it anymore. I just realized that like there are some things that I can't forget. Like I have to obviously have my wallet, my phone, my laptop, and chargers for laptop and phone. If I have that, anything else I could probably buy in whatever country I'm in. So, if I forget something else, then I'll buy it.
That's the thing, right?
That's how it works.
Exactly. That's the like that is literally how you go about it. Is like, oh, I need shirts. Okay, go into the mall real quick, guys. Gonna go buy some shirts real quick because I didn't bring the shirts this time.
Well, look, I'll tell you how that trend got started for me. It did because we have had sort of at the beginning of this year when things were a little bit more busy. I ended up at quite a few events where I had less than 48 hours at home. So I'd go home, I would sleep, and then I would sort of wake up and do some things, with the family and stuff, and then I would literally have to sort of be on my way to the airport again. And I just couldn't find time to sort of wash any of my clothes, so I just thought, I'll wear what I'm wearing now, then I'll go to the airport and buy some stuff, and then I'll take that with me into the next event, so that became a thing.
That is actually, like, for a long period there, it was literally just do your laundry at the hotel.
Yeah.
And cross your fingers that everything is going to work out, basically. Yeah. Especially when we were doing E-League and basically like living out of that hotel for 14-day stretches, basically. So it's just like there's no way you're going to bring enough clothes to actually be clean the entire time.
Well, look, this is another problem. This is going to be like some first world problems here. But, I don't know if I thought this is easy. I'll bring my laundry to a hotel. I will go and, they have like these little bags, these little plastic bags where you put all your laundry in and you have to cross off like all the stuff that's in there.
Yeah.
Which is always difficult because I always forget to do it. So I don't remember how many of one thing I put in and then I just put like a random number. And I don't even know if it matters. But anyway, you deliver the two of them and it always says like, it will take like 24 hours for you to get it back unless you request express service, then you'll have it at like 6 a.m. And I swear literally every time I've click yes, I'll pay for the express service. Then the next day it's like 6 and there's no clothes anywhere. So I have to call the front desk and say, hey, where's my laundry at? And they say, oh yeah, well the express service it actually isn't working. It's just something that's on the phone, but it's not really there. And then I said, well that doesn't work because obviously I've got to wear my clothes today. And then it takes a lot of explaining and complaining. So hotel laundry services. There's like a market that needs to be explored there. It can be better than it is right now. That's all I'm saying.
All I'm saying when it comes to them hotel laundry, man, is just like the price. It's just highway robbery.
Yes.
It's just like, we're going to charge you $8 to clean your pants.
Yeah.
A single pair of pants. I was just like, okay then. Like that, if you're going to do the hotel laundry, you really have to be committed to it, right? You're doing 10 shirts and all that, at the end of the day, they wreck you so hard. And then if they don't even have the express, it's just unreal. At the W at Atlanta, it was actually not too bad though. They were pretty sharp about that. Like they the express was express, but I don't know, man. They've bailed me out of a couple of, dirty situations. We'll put it that way, right? Clothes dirty, obviously. Yeah. Get your minds out of the gutter. I think we're supposed to talk. We're supposed to talk CS at some point.
When you say that, it sounds like they've helped you dispose of like a dead prostitute or something. Call the concierge and say, "I've got a serious problem."
Dude, what happens in Atlanta? It's just.
All right.
So not to incriminate ourselves or anything, let's go ahead and speaking of, well, no, that's a bad segue. So StarLadder happened this last weekend. So. Basically the event that we were all waiting for, the international tournament, basically, because you had Northern Arena before that with all of its debacles and admin problems, etc., that everybody was latching onto. But that was much more of a North American tournament with North American teams there, some South Americans, obviously. This was the big tournament coming out of the break that had the international rosters there and the top tier, pretty much the who's who apart from SK. And Liquid.
Basically since the finals of E-League Season 1, this has been the first one that we've sort of run into, right? So that's definitely very cool. There's been so much online stuff going on, but I actually think online Counter-Strike is just, it's become so much of a bad indicator of how a team is going to do that it's almost a bit silly, you know. I don't want to say people shouldn't watch online games or that it's irrelevant or anything, but it's very. I feel like we need a revolution in making, you know, online CS more interesting. Maybe skins betting, bring that back, you know, something like that.
YOLO. I don't know, man. It feels like it hasn't gone away because people are still like it's still available in certain countries. I'm not sure.
I actually I've stopped keeping up with what's happening. Every once in a while, I see on the Reddit that there's like a letter to cease and desist to some site, and then I don't know if that actually makes a difference or not. But either way, obviously, if you had just been watching some of the online stuff, you would have thought going into Starseries that maybe, especially being on sort of home turf, a team like Na'Vi would do extremely well, and I think they finished last at Starseries. What's up with that?
Pretty
like
much.
that seems truly crazy to me. I'm wondering if they just didn't have enough time to work with Simple, but it still feels like they should have done better.
I feel like Na'Vi always have that. Like, okay, so I learned this lesson again last night, right? Where Virtus.pro were playing Fnatic online in Pro League. Thought it was going to be a fun match, but I was getting behind the plow. You know, I was just like, VP, they're going to show up. They're not going to show any respect. They're just going to wreck these guys, and it'll be done and dusted. Fnatic will go back to the drawing board, and they'll put in a bit more work, and we'll see how they progress from there. And I'd forgotten, Anders. I'd forgotten our cardinal rule from back in the day, which was never bet on VP, never bet on Na'Vi in an online game. Because you never know what the fuck they're going to do, and if like which one's going to show up, and are they going to be garbage, or are they going to be good? You never know. And last night, you know, VP... Because VP, I mean, on top of Na'Vi, right, VP also went out last in groups, and they were pretty much like two of the teams that you really expected to make it deep into the tournament. You know, it's just, it feels so weird where you expect these guys to be consistently good, and they are for long streaks, but then they'll just have these off days where nothing seems to add up. And what's worse for them is that other teams had like, okay, we lost a game, okay, we'll play again next, like tomorrow or something. VP had to play both of their matches in one single sweep, and then they just got bodied, basically.
Yeah, and they seem to be a team that's just notorious for doing that. There were like some other silly upsets. Now that we're talking about online Counter-Strike, I think Heroic lost to another Danish team that I don't think they. So was it the Danish team they lost to? Who did Heroic lose to yesterday? I'm trying to.
Oh yeah, wasn't that the one? That was when Glaive was complaining on Twitter or something about how this isn't the CS that we play.
Yeah, stuff like that. Yeah. So I mean, it's Danish Counter-Strike. Someone is going to be complaining at some point, but yeah, I think the problem is the online portion of any sort of league structure is obviously the ticket to go to LAN where you can sort of, you know, really play. It feels like, and the discrepancy between how teams play online now and how they play in LAN, and I would even say. You can even tell, I think, when the teams are playing, you can tell that they just don't put a lot of energy into it. They are like two different games. Like LAN Counter-Strike and online Counter-Strike are just kind of two different games, and it's just a bit weird. So I kind of wish we could do something about it, and I'm not sure if we can. But I would say, in terms of sort of how well Counter-Strike is doing and how we're progressing and how things are getting like better quality and better overall everything, I kind of wish we would aim to minimize the amount of online stuff that happens, you know, and just try and make more of it LAN. I think that would be more fun. Like obviously E-League is the example of having sort of people fly into somewhere and play even the sort of the group stage or like the lead up to it on LAN, and then you have a final somewhere. But people should do that more. I think that would be good news for everybody. I see you swapping our cams around. Maybe with a bit of delay. Good news.
I think we're good there. Yeah, we're Gucci. Yeah. Okay, better.
That's some serious production value.
I'm all over it, man. You know, apparently we had been swapped in places, and I was not informed of this, and so I just went ahead and like slapped everything together the way that it's been for the past 4 weeks, and guess what? Yep. So basically, everybody's just like, "You have a great beard, Semmler." I'm like, "That's true. That's very true. I do. I've been working on it for a while. It's really starting to come in. I think, starting to grow.
Nice.
But yes, top-notch production value. Obviously. What's up, everybody? All right. So. But it is true, these online leagues, man, and you know it's fun because if we want to bounce around all over the place, right now we have the announcement of PEA with their own league, so there's going to be 4 multi-million-dollar leagues coming up next year.
Jesus.
It's going to get hectic, man. This feels like we're on the cusp of something where it's just going to get way too busy.
Whenever I talk to industry insiders, whom I can't name because they'll kill me if I do,
right?
Whenever I talk to people who are smarter than me about like the business aspect of all of this, they always say what people don't understand is that a lot of the online, like the sort of the online league, is actually what pays for the LAN portion of it. You know, like all the ads that get shown, the the viewership, like all of these things sort of go into paying for travel and hotel costs and prize pool money and like all this stuff. It's sort of, you know, you can't just cut one part of it out and say, oh well, let's just have only LANs all the way, right?
Right.
So that may be true, but I kind of wish we could so maybe it's a change that can't happen from like one event to the next, but hopefully it can happen over time, because I feel like it's like, I don't want to say it's sinking ship, but it's hard to keep the focus, you know. I think for people who watch it too, but I think certainly for teams as well, it's hard to find the same level of energy when you're playing, you know, if you're NIP and you're playing Astralis again and again and again, week after week, to try and qualify for a tournament, and maybe you have like 3 or 4 more chances to do it even if you lose that game. So yeah, there's some issue there that needs to be clarified at some point, I feel like.
Yeah, it's definitely the import of the game. Like, how important is this game that you're in right now? And I think the main gripe for me is just that with so many officials that the teams are participating in, and I'm not taking the blame off of the teams. I mean, I still think that it comes down to the teams. It's their decision how many leagues they're going to play in. So I mean, the teams are also inflicting this on themselves when they are signing up for all 3, when they could very well do like Navi have done and basically say, actually, we're only going to participate in 2 leagues. The third one, you know, thanks for the offer, but we're not going to be a part of it. That's ECS, right? They bowed out of the qualifiers again on that one. But it actually gives you a little bit of time to actually, I don't know, play with your cards a little closer to your chest. I mean, I feel if you're playing officials against your opponents day in, day out, and then you're going to go and play against them on LAN, where's your time to come up with something that's going to catch them off guard, right? Where's that element of surprise where there's like a month nobody's really, you know, you're pracking, sure, you're scrimming, but you're also developing stuff on the side that you're waiting, you know, to use at the next LAN. I don't feel like we get that so much these days anymore. Or it's much more subtle, right? It's not like, bam, look at this fucking smoke strat like the one that Nip pulled at Columbus, where it's just like, what? You know, just that sense of surprise is actually a very rare one these days, I feel, just because of all these officials and all of this time that's spent in just playing these online games.
Yeah, now it feels like a lot of the sort of excitement and sort of, you know, just general fun comes from some of the Chinese teams, right? Who did really well at Starseries, like Tyloo and obviously Vici or Cybersen. We're supposed to call them Vici or Cybersen or both. I'm not sure.
It's Vici Gaming, right?
Right.
So I mean,
they're called Vici.
Like Thorin actually got a little tilted the other day because he was like, "We already have a VG in CS history." Obviously referring to Very Games, right? We don't need another one. Call him Vici. You know, I was like, okay, like calm down, bro. It's all good. 2 different teams.
Fair enough. No, but I mean, so obviously these teams are like slightly isolated. It seems like we don't get to see them nearly enough, and not all tournaments have spots for an Asian qualifier, right? So that's a shame. And I think actually Peter over from HLTV was actually sort of tweeting angrily about this and saying it's a bit of a shame that the organizers are so slow to pick up on the fact that people really want to see these teams. They cause a lot of excitement. And I have to agree with that. I think that's a good thing to be complaining about. It's great that they made it Starseries, and it's great that they were DreamHack Masters, but you know, they need more, I think, practice outside, and we'll benefit from it too, I think. in my opinion.
I mean, dude, actually, thank you, chat. There's news that just broke right now that we could
Wow.
talk about. I mean, I want to come back to the Chinese scene,
It's all right.
obviously, because I think that there's a lot of depth there, and it's very interesting how quickly they're developing. But Peter,
What's
you're
the
right
news?
for
That
pointing
sounds
that
so
out.
serious. I feel like we should have an alarm that's going to go off. News is breaking.
Right? About to get to. I mean, regarding the player council. Wait, I gotta do it.
Oh, let me update. Someone said something about this to me. Oh, yeah, I see. Should we put a link in the chat so that people know?
Yeah. So this is, I mean, this is, let's see what because I just brought I just went to the Reddit, obviously, and pulled it up. It's on the front page of Reddit now, and so you're looking for the link. If you don't see it in the chat, go and check out Reddit. It's on the front page there. But World Esports Association, WESA, however you want to call it, introduces Player Council. And so this Player Council, I mean, we've been waiting, 4 months now for this Player Council to come together because they made that a big part of their PR release when they actually went live with this whole thing, is that, no, guys, we're going to take care of the players and the players are going to be involved. And then that was the last we heard about WESA pretty much up until now, which is basically that it looks like there are quite a few Player Council members here. I mean, are you reading the page too?
Yes. So obviously Nyack, who is the who's with G2, has been a coach for a very long time. He's been following these players, right?
Yeah.
Chris J, Starix, Freiburg, Taz, MBK, and Vugo. So, not too surprising in my opinion.
Now we know why Freiburg hasn't been kicked by Nip. He's obviously the Player Council guy. Now it all makes sense. Obviously.
Hey, he was playing well during SLTV. He had so many good entries. I'm gonna stick up for Freiburg.
I said that to Dunk. I was on the phone with Thorin, right? And I was like, yeah, Freiburg didn't look too bad. And I felt like he wanted to reach through the phone and throttle me at one point because he was just like, yeah, until you go and look at the stats. I'm trying to do like the Thorin voice, Yeah, yes, Semmler, until you go and look at the stats. And then you see he had a sub 1.0 rating up until the finals. And in the finals, yes, he had a good map. Like the Thorin impression. But
so he saved the best of himself so they could win the finals. That's the interpretation I'm getting here.
I love it,
I
dude.
understand.
But hey, Freiburg, clearly it's basically like exist, much too quiet to be a part of this. Get right, way too focused on CS, and Forrest is off playing Diablo 3. So I mean, like, it's all about Freiburg basically to take this up, right? So
both
makes sense.
Both just in terms of player performances, both Forrest and Get Right have been playing super well for a while now. So
they have.
I would almost say, don't fuck with them and do anything weird. Let them stay focused. But seriously though, the question is, I mean, obviously, how often is this player council going to be? I'm assuming this is something that's only going to be consulted if something happens, if there's some disagreement that they have to deal with. Otherwise, I don't think it'll take up too much time from these players. So don't think anyone will ever come out and say, "Oh yeah, I've been on the player council so much, I can't even play anymore." It's so hard for me to do that. That sounds unreasonable.
All right, so this is the paragraph basically that sums it up nice and neat, right? Victor Yendeby, basically, I guess if we're gonna Yendeby.
Yeah, don't.
Vugo, basically, the coach, manager, basically been with Fnatic for quite some time now. He stepped back into more of an assistant role and more of an analyst role. He won't be going with the team so often. And actually, this is a big reason why, is because not only is he going to be supporting Fnatic in an analyst role, but he has also now been unanimously elected by the players as the WESA Players Council chairman. And so it follows, in this role, Yenneby will represent the council and all of the organization's players on the WESA executive board. This role will give the players important insight and input into decision-making at the highest level, as well as the ability to help shape the formation and adjustment of rules and policies which directly affect players' careers. And so basically, all of this sums up to, we trust Vugo to basically, fill this role because none of us have got time to do it. So have fun, Vugo. Go do it.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I was sort of going through in my head and thinking how many of these players would I think actually would do a good job in representing the players at large, just from sort of knowing them.
Right.
And I don't think they've actually picked up like such a bad bunch here. I think both Nyack and Vugo will have a lot of I mean, actually, maybe not more than Vugo, but either way, they will have some industry insight. They will know a little bit about what's going on. They won't just be making decisions based off of only the player point of view, but also sort of more broadly. So I think that's cool. That's good. It definitely helps to push things in the right direction, hopefully. But it still doesn't change the fact that there's so much confusion now. Obviously WESA is one thing and P being the other one, or PEA. I really wish these people would at least just come up with organizations that have better acronyms. Can we invest in that? Spend like $100 and go to like numerology or something like that. Just come up with better names for.
Hold on, can I find the joke that I made the other day with? It was a good joke. Hold on, I'll find it.
I feel like whenever you have to find a joke, it's
no. It's here. It's here. It's in my folder. It took like 5 seconds in Photoshop to make.
All right.
There we go.
That's some dedication. I'm gonna have to watch it on the stream, aren't I?
Jar Jar is here. And he is the thing is that they say that Vugo is the one who's backing everything up, right? I think that this is the guy. This is the guy.
It does make me laugh.
Who's leading the charge, leading the way. He's got WESA's back because WESA going to take over the world.
That's so stupid. All right, that was pretty good. I'm glad you photoshopped that.
There we go.
I didn't know you had those skills.
But these and apparently we aren't even pronouncing it correctly, because apparently in the ESL offices, obviously the Germans, they call it WESA.
WESA, yeah, that makes sense.
And so it's WESA, it's WESA, it's WESA. Even that doesn't really WESA. It's like you got to do some linguistic gymnastics there to get that out. But I mean, I guess all of this is better than P. But I thought about this, right? When it comes to P, right? And I'm not gonna say the obvious jokes, of like, you're pissing on my leg and telling me it's esports or something like that because you're taking a pee. I mean, but what I think, the P is trying to be is they, so basically it's like that fairy tale, right, of the mattresses all stacked up and the princess who's trying to sleep. Yes. And the princess just happens to be called Vesa, Veseline, the princess who's sleeping on these mattresses, and she just couldn't get a good night's rest, right, in this story because there was a pea under the mattress at the bottom, and she was just tossing and turning, and she couldn't sleep well.
Actually, I think that might have been one of your better analogies, Semmler. I'm gonna give you credit for it. I think that actually works pretty well, because this is obviously, these are obviously two rivaling organizations trying to do the same thing. And I think the term exclusivity or monopoly or whatever has become like a really demonized term in our esports space.
Yes.
But you kind of understand where someone would be coming from in trying to create this, right? Like the thing that if you just took all the politics and all the organizations and everything out of it, and you were just some kind of esports god that could just sort of create the best landscape ever, where you had, LAN build-ups for a LAN tournament, so everyone was flown in somewhere, they were, playing games, and they would go to a LAN, and it would be epic. Then there would be good time off, and then there would be a major tournament, and then things would sort of, keep going on. Whatever the perfect scenario looks like, you can either believe that will happen through sort of normal market forces, competition, or you could believe that it will be like a top-down thing that someone will sort of just decide, look, we have a contract with every team and every player, and now we will just structure it so that it makes sense, so that so there are transfer windows and off time and all of these things. And obviously, when there's a WESA and a PEA, then it's very hard to imagine that there won't be like some stupid conflict there that they won't be able to figure it out. But I think you can see why both sides would be interested in doing that, right? And if one of them was successful, it might be bad for very many other people, and a lot of people would be out of a job. But who knows if the scene wouldn't necessarily be healthier? I think that's worth at least talking about.
This is the eternal discussion, isn't it? Because you have these separate tournament organizers who are running events, DreamHack, Starseries, Turner, etc., right? Who aren't tied to these orgs. What happens if an exclusive deal is struck where there is actually, because I think that at the end of the day, what it really boils down to is money, right? And if you're going to basically get a team, an org, to sign on to your exclusive league, there has to be some kind of financial benefit for them there to even consider it, right? And so, one day, maybe that is that. And it's fun because we actually kind of touched on this when we were talking about PEA with Monte Cristo. His theory or his idea behind it all was just that there should be one org that comes in and just goes completely ham with money, just spends so much money. There's no way they're going to make it back within the next 2 years, but they really just, lay down the law and say, right, we are going to fully invest in this, and we're just going to burn money, and we're going to get these orgs in, and we're going to try and actually establish the groundwork, right, the base frame, the ground frame, the frame to build off of that, right? And so. Yeah. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, like my thought on it is just, I would be interested to see, because I don't think we haven't had that in CS. I mean, we can look over to LoL, where League of Legends and Riot have that exclusive control over everything that is competitive League of Legends, right? And so we can see how they're doing it over there. But I think that they are almost like just going way off the deep end with just how much content, how much there is. That they're doing with the LCS. It feels like there's too much LCS almost. You have exclusive control of the league, and yet you're still just constantly just pumping content and tournaments out there.
Well, it also feels like Riot's sort of chokehold on everything is almost a bit asphyxiating. Like it seems like it chokes out maybe some amount of creativity and like freedom for people to do fun things. I really don't know that much about League of Legends, so I'm just like a really distant observer, but that's sort of what it feels like whenever I talk to people whom we shan't mention so that they don't also get killed by Riot. But what I mean, I think ultimately we're going to end up in a place where someone could try and do that, but I think here's the problem that I would face if I was a team owner. If I had 100% share in some big team, and someone came to me and said, okay, the financials right now, like you understand how many sponsorships you have, how much we're roughly making right now participating in a league, and how much you think the league is going to be making. All of these numbers are real good for what's happening right now, but on the rise, like 2, 3, 4 years down, there are a lot of different opinions about when this is going to happen. But at some point, there's going to be like an overall battle or an overall sort of discussion about broadcasting rights. So if you are a big organization that has managed to sign all of the teams under you, and you're creating a really good product, a really nice product that everyone wants to watch and sort of interact with, that can be worth. In itself, obviously, like every time you have like a monopoly, you can drive the prices up quite high, but then you start negotiating for broadcasting rights, and maybe that wasn't in the sort of original agreement that the owners made when they signed it. Like there could be other ways of monetizing a product that you haven't thought about. So if you're an owner right now, I could see why you might be a little bit scared to sign a contract and then suddenly 4 or 5 other streams of revenue are added to the overall product, and then you think, oh, damn, I just missed out on a lot. So I think the uncertainty of how big esports is going to be and how much money is going to be in it actually becomes like a hindrance to people cooperating more and building more reasonable products, sadly. But maybe also predictably.
That is, I mean, in all levels of it, it feels, that is the one thing that comes down to it. As soon as the money becomes real, right? Like to that, when you're working for free or when you're working for a small amount, it's all right. But as soon as the money starts to get up there, all of a sudden it starts to get very complicated. I mean, I don't know. I saw you like lift your hands. Did you have something to add there?
No, no. I was just, I don't know what I was doing.
I mean, there lies the rub, right? Getting competitors to cooperate as well, because at the end of the day, all of this, what this boils down to is you have competing leagues, and then you have competing teams, and they're all competing. I mean, it's whoever's going to really crack into the non-endemic sponsorship market that's going to win, it feels like, because if you're competing over the same market, all of these endemic sponsors, these guys aren't making truckloads of money. You're all competing for the same small pond of resources basically that these guys have to dole out every year. And so obviously, do you want to work with your competitor, or do you want to just say, actually, we offer the better product, and so we're going to try and get the lion's share?
Yeah, it's a problem that's really hard to solve, it feels like. And obviously, we're talking about what if Visa, what if PEA became the only game in town and everyone joined that. But obviously, there is a different model that says that Valve just decide, hey, this is our IP. We will now make a deal with everybody who wants to sort of be in Counter-Strike, and everyone else is cut out. And that would obviously be sort of the Riot model. And I don't necessarily, first of all, I don't think Valve would do that. But I'm also not necessarily advocating that they should. But I'm wondering what would happen. People keep saying that Counter-Strike is dying and everything, and that's all good fun. But suppose that the sort of the drop in viewership and player base and everything went really bad, and it became very obvious that this is because of the sort of competitive climate. People are trying so hard to fight each other that there is never a day, there's never a weekend when there's any downtime, or someone's always going to try and schedule something, and they will just, and the players can't seem to stop sort of, playing in everything, so they burn out, and people don't want to watch it anymore because the viewership is burned out and everything is bad. At some point, I think things could be bad enough that it would make sense for Valve to step in and say, okay, if you guys can't play nice, if you can't figure out how to do this, then we'll maybe if we don't overtake everything, we will at least lay some ground rules and say, this is how it works. I think that would make sense eventually, but I don't think we're anywhere near that yet. But I'm just saying, like, if 2 years down the line, it's just bad, and no one has come to any conclusion. I wonder if they would try and protect their own product like that.
Well, what's going to be super interesting to see is 2017. It's like 2 years down the line, yeah, but like 2017, PEA have made it perfectly clear that they want to hold American teams to the league. Right? So you have the 7 teams that have actually signed on with this org to begin with, and those teams are going to be competing, and it seems like they're prioritizing PEA, at least based off of the press release. I mean, we don't really have many details past that point, right? Or past that. So it sounds to me like, okay, you're going to have the WESA teams who are obviously playing in Pro League, and you're going to have the PEA teams who are obviously playing in the PEA. And so then the odd children out at that point almost become Turner and ECS, right? Face it. And what happens there, because they don't have that leverage, for example, apart from just we have boatloads of money, so come and play in our league, because I mean ECS is like we have a bit more than $1 million. Turner, same sort of thing, right? So there's a lot of money, but they don't actually have an organizing body that seems to be just saying, okay, you're part of this organizing body, well then you're playing in this league. Yeah. And so that could actually be the balance in the end, right? Because if the teams have already got one league that they have to participate in, and who knows, maybe the WESA teams don't participate in PEA and vice versa, then what happens with Pro League, for example, the North American division of Pro League? Does that just go away? If the PEA teams aren't playing in it, does that just go away, or will there still be a North American version? In which case, will the North American teams have time to play in Pro League, in PEA, in Turner, which is also in North America, right? I feel like we need to make a decision as well. The teams need to know the production value of this PEA. At least Pro League, right? It's online, so we're playing from home or our team house or wherever it is. Turner, we go to Atlanta, still in North America, 4 or 5 hours of travel. Okay, we're there, right? But we're playing on LAN in this sick studio, right? So there's like bonuses to competing in these leagues, whether it be playing online from your own house or playing in a real sick LAN environment. What does PEA have to stand out apart from? We have $500,000 for the first season, and you guys are a part of it too. So, at least your orgs are a part of it, and there's a rev share on the profits. Yeah. I wonder.
I mean, I think there are a lot of question marks, and they seem to promise a lot, in that initial statement that was weirdly put in a Dropbox folder. I have no idea how that works. That really, come on.
I guess for journalists, right? They just download the thing and go.
That could be it.
Maybe that's the idea behind it.
Look, obviously now it's just to segue this all the way back to the Chinese teams that we're talking about. Now there is a move to try and group all the European teams. There's a move to try and group all the American teams.
Sure.
What happens to the rest of the world, which does extend outside of America and Europe, weirdly. What about the Chinese? We know that I think, and I've been saying for like well over a year, that I think the second wave of Counter-Strike sort of popularity and growth will happen when the Chinese and the Asian market really gets going. And I think it's now with Tyloo and with Vici or Cybercent, whatever you want to call them, doing so well, that has to inspire a lot. And I think that has to help the Chinese player base quite a bit. And I think that will that will create a very interesting sort of vertical to all the rest of what's happening here.
Well, there's the Alibaba. Isn't there the Alibaba tournament that's happening over in China right now, or
Yes.
it's supposed to be having some kind of movement over there? I mean, it sounds like leagues are growing at least. I mean, MVP in it's actually on HLTV. Like, yeah, VSL Korea, right? For example, Korean League, MVP are playing in it. MVP were at Starseries this weekend, and their prize pool has increased from 6,000 to 9,000, for example, right? So, I mean, obviously, we're talking very small in the grand scope of things of millions for these leagues, but, still growth, right? And it does feel like it is coming along where steadily in Asia, right, it's really starting to pick up. The quality, I think, of Tyloo and VG is like, or Vici, we'll call them that, is really interesting. Because they certainly have the individual talent, and it seems like every LAN they're getting better, or every LAN they're getting closer to be able to really, start taking it to the tier 1, if not tier 2.
Yeah, and again, I think
vice versa.
From a sort of European or American point of view, I think we need to be a little bit quicker at realizing that there's sort of money to be made inviting them into our tournaments more than just every once in a while. I think that's like the main point. And whatever happens to the Chinese market, I think it's going to be really hard to predict. I just don't know enough about it to sort of accurately make any predictions. But I think it'll be just way more fun, and I think more people will watch the tournaments if they can watch some Asian teams as well. I think that's good news. So
yeah, that is the question, isn't it? This PEA, this WESA, or is this how Face It, for example, stand out? Do they actually extend or figure out how to have some of these Chinese teams compete in their leagues? The thing is, it's just it's the same thing as for any international right kind of competition, Dota 2, etc. Your ping. Your ping is what's limiting you. It's why we can't have EU versus NA in online tournaments, and it's also why you can't have China versus EU in online tournaments. It's just the ping is what's limiting you. And so again, I mean, this to me is where Turner perhaps could shine, because they are bent on having the teams at the event to participate during a certain window on LAN, right? Then all of a sudden, if they were to extend a hand out to Tyloo, out to Vici, right, it could get interesting.
A parallel.
Wasn't that the case for season 1? Sorry, wasn't that the case for season 1, Ely?
Yes, and then there was some
Tyloo
issues.
failed on the visas or something.
There were some issues there. You're right. They were supposed to be there. But obviously in Dota 2, Beyond the Summit, right? They largely grew out of covering Chinese games, right? Like that essentially spawned a whole new Dota studio that eventually ended up doing all sorts of things, right? Like LD and GOTS ended up doing tons of other stuff, but that created a new market just there. And as far as I can tell, no one in Counter-Strike has taken it upon themselves to say, well, I will then become the sort of Asian Counter-Strike expert. I'm gonna do that. When we were in Taipei for the ESL event, we actually ran into Blair, who was there.
Yeah, Sudan.
And he actually knew quite a lot about a lot of players that I had never even heard of, but sort of knew about their stories and how they were as players and all sorts of things. So that's cool. But we need more of that, and it doesn't have to be just one person. There more growth could happen in that area if it's supported and covered, and the viewership is directed a little bit that way.
Exactly. If there's a viewership for it, you could have like a Monte Cristo and Doa, right? For example, or an Artosis and Tasteless, who are focused entirely on the Korean scene, for example. In our case, perhaps, Chinese scene for CS, although MVP are obviously improving. I like their CT side. Their T side definitely leaves a lot to be desired. But I think like there is a chance for Sudan. It's just whether or not there's going to be the events of a sufficient scale, like a sufficient size, right? The Taipei Minor was just almost like an exception, right? It was almost like a fluke. It was a trade show, and then they're like, okay, we can do it here, and then so we got to actually meet Sudan, and we actually got to work with them. But those opportunities, I wonder if how often they're going to come around, unless tournament organizers like DreamHack, like the bigger guys, decide actually we are going to go right over there. Or Australia, is it possible to do something on the north coast of Australia, right? That could actually work.
Not. Isn't the north of Australia just all desert? Like literally just, I don't think anyone lives there. I think you have to go down south somewhere.
There's got to be a play like where...
I think you could buy like like land the size of Denmark in northern Australia, and just no one would notice. You could just do whatever you want. I get the feeling that's how it works.
There's a Northern Territory. Hold on, I'm gonna find.
Plus,
this. I'm gonna find this.
they have spiders and skin cancer and all that. There's just sharks as well. It's terrifying, and it takes like maybe 3 days to fly there on plane. So
Yeah.
it's really hard.
I'm looking at Perth right now, which is where Sponge comes from, and even that, it's on the West Coast, right? That's why I was thinking, okay, maybe Perth could be an option, but it's too far. I mean, it's a bit far south, yeah.
Yeah. Why do you think Sponge tries to not be in Australia so much? There has to be a reason.
Wow, this is his first foray out, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing is like I'm just Sponge, you'll never last in a country this far north because you're so used to wearing your tongs, right? Your flippy flops, right? That hey, winter rolls around, you're gonna lose your little toes if you're wearing flip flops. So sorry, bro. And he's inseparable from those things.
We're not supposed to call him Sponge anymore. We're supposed to call him Chad.
Get out of here.
No, it's true. He I saw that yesterday. You could say he is trying to expunge his past. I worked on that for a while.
Yeah,
sadly,
I can tell. Well played.
Look, just to move on, and forget about that. We're talking about DreamHack Bucharest, in which you were sadly prevented from going, but I decided.
Yes.
I'm going to go take a look, and that should be pretty good fun, especially just based off Starseries. We got Heroic and Dignitas there again. They seem to have like a really fierce battle. Don't even want to talk about Astralis because I feel like they just don't deserve it at this point. I'm disappointed and angry. But Heroic and Dignitas definitely playing with a lot of heart in their game right now. And then we obviously have Cloud9 and Virtus.pro, Gambit, Flipside, Envy, and FaZe. So there are obviously some favorites, but this seems to me like one of those tournaments where very nearly anything could happen.
Well, we
it's
have
so
the
close
groups,
to the other
right?
tournament.
I think this is Group A. Kind of they kind of caught the rough end of the stick there. Envious, Heroic, VP in Group A, along with Gambit.
Yes.
Not really giving Gambit. I mean, it's. I mean, they could do something on a given day. I mean, it's still Adren, Hooch, Doja, Moo, and Space, but I mean. Maybe they're like the underdog guys that have been ignored for so long that they're just going to come out of nowhere and completely surprise everybody.
I was going to say they weren't at Starseries, so who knows, right? Like now we feel like we have a very good read on maybe all the other teams that are here, and then
Sure.
Gambit is the one team that we don't know. I don't think it's incredibly likely. I feel like this team is almost like hogging some talent that I really enjoy. I still think Adrian is a very, very good player, and I think he just has like experience and everything else. I feel like he's stuck a little bit. I love Hooch as well on so many levels, but I feel like maybe the rest aren't living up to 100% of their sort of their potential. Like they've got something, but it's too unpredictable. So I would have to agree, even though it would be fun if they came out as like the unknown quantity. I kind of don't feel like it happening. Question is so Group A is Virtus.pro, Heroic, Envy, Gambit, and Group B is Cloud9, Dignitas, FaZe, and Flipside. Do you wanna predict who might make it through here? So 2 teams from either group.
2 teams from either group. You're just going to throw me under the bus this way, huh? I definitely think VP and Cloud9 are going to top their groups, given how they're playing right now. I think VP obviously just go like bombing Starseries. I think that was a fluke. I think that got their heads back into it, and they're going to come into this tournament, and they're going to have that swagger that we expect from them. So I imagine VP top their group pretty comfortably. After that, it comes down to whether or not Heroic can find their form. I mean, Glaive, like you said, right? He was expressing frustration the other day on how his team is playing right now. They kind of had that rising where they were on the up and up, and then they've kind of just, I don't know, stalled out, right, and started to slip back down the slope a little bit here. And so Glaive clearly frustrated with that. But I mean, I think given the level that we see right now, Heroic should be capable of taking out Envious and Gambit. But you're right. I mean, Gambit is kind of that X factor here. Envious, I kind of expect what we got from Envious at this point. MBK, though, will be here for Bucharest, right? So there is that to consider. It's the full roster. It's not going to have Sixer. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that NVK is going to be pretty hungry to show a good performance. But still,
that's actually another good point to bring up. That just adds to like the unpredictability of this particular group. It's just that MBK is back, and who knows, right? And Heroic, yeah, they're an odd quality. Obviously, Walde or Velde, as we call him in Danish, Velde. That's actually what I call my son. He's called Walter, but just for short, we call him that a lot of the time.
What do you call him?
Velde.
Really?
Yeah, like a lot of the time.
How?
So
I don't understand Danish. Okay, say your name in Danish, Anders.
Anders. Let's not focus on that. Basically,
it doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't. But basically, I think a really fun team, a really interesting team. With Glaive with a lot of experience, but Freeze and Modi obviously with tons of experience playing 1.6. And I honestly never thought that I would ever see Modi play good Counter-Strike again. I feel like he had his chance early on in the game, and I felt like he blew it, and I felt like he was just not going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But he obviously played some really big teams back in 1.6, and it's actually kind of exciting to see him play this well again. I don't know. I have no idea what kind of motivation or where he's found it or whatever, but it's pretty cool to see. I think it's yeah. That's one of the things that I really care about in Counter-Strike is like the sort of history of an individual player and how they can sort of. I don't know if it's something that just works out in people's lives. You know, they dump their old girlfriend or get a new girlfriend, or something changes. Like it doesn't always have to be girlfriends, but just just something changes, and then suddenly people seem to be playing like with a different level of dedication. So I quite enjoyed that. I think it's quite cool. He's not the only one on that team, but he's I think the one that I would the least expect it from, basically. Just because I feel like he's had so long in Global Offensive to try and do something, but now it's finally happening, it seems.
Yeah, he seems to be a bit comfortable. I mean, Velda, I think, is the one who really. Valda, whatever.
Yes.
I'll practice that for the next time.
Do that.
He seems to be the one who really kind of stepped up and saved their bacon, though. And I think, again, Glaive was pretty frank with that on Twitter, where he was just like, Velda really came through in the matches, and we had a very strong individual performance from him to make the difference right in their matches. So, I mean, if the team as a whole isn't going to function, then yeah, it is going to come down to the individuals, Modi, Velda. Like, we're going to have to see something crazy from them, because I mean, okay, I'm not really looking at Envy as world beaters anymore, but they certainly are a threat. They certainly can mess you up on a given day. Just Kenny S unleash that guy and let it go.
It's just when you say that, like it makes me so sad, because I look at the names on this roster and I think like they should be, you know, like I don't even know what's happening. They should be. So
they should just destroy everything in their path, you would think, right? But I don't know, man.
They need a real awakening of some kind. Like you said, maybe MBK coming back and playing with them is going to be it. On the other side of in Group B, we've got Cloud9, Dignitas, FaZe, and Flipside. This seems to me to be the harder to predict group in all honesty.
Yes.
Like maybe Cloud9 and Dignitas is the favorites, but then who knows? Like any of the other two teams could win a best of one against any of the top. It feels like.
Anders, I think it's very simple. I think that young Stu is going to show up and just completely and utterly destroy everything, because he had his fluke performance here at Starseries. That's it, you know, back in the mix of things, didn't really do so hot. I think he's going to come into Bucharest now that he's adjusted. Jet lag is out of the way. I don't know. I'm just throwing some NA excuses in there, right? You know, like jet lag is out of the way, and now he's going to show up at Bucharest, and I think he's going to have the feel for how to approach these European teams. Because I mean, yes, okay, he was on LAN, but he was playing against North American teams. You know, and that's just it. It's a totally different style of CS from what you expect from the European teams. And so now he's had a little bit of time to adjust. I think young Stu is going to bounce back. He's going to just destroy everything, level buildings, turning into young Superman. And then, you know, Dignitas, FaZe, and Flipside are just going to run for the hills. That's what's up. That's what I'm saying.
All right, so definitely Cloud9, you're saying, are coming out of that group, no problem.
Yes.
Yeah, Markelov actually has been playing a lot better recently too. I'm just saying that, just to point that out. some of us will just never give up on Markelov, never surrender.
It's basically you and Lurpus, I think, are
Yeah.
you've held out for so long now that I feel like it's just something that it's like a psychosis. It's just so deeply burrowed in your brains that it's never gonna go away.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, like, I still don't think I think Flipside are like maybe the least, I don't know, maybe the least favorite team.
What is it? Basically, what's gonna happen is at a desk next time you say Markelov has got it in him. I'm gonna show up with like 2 exposed wires and just like hold them to your head, like try to reset the brainwaves.
I just can't. It's been, there are some names like that. What's really upsetting to me is that there are so many other players from when Markelov was in Navi in 1.6, and like there are so many other names like that have sort of disappeared and seemingly disappeared forever. Like those people don't even touch Counter-Strike anymore. But if they ever came back, trust me, there would be some fanboying going on. Just I don't think they will anymore. I actually spoke to some people in the Danish scene who sort of said maybe they would come back and play, but then they kind of don't. It's a bit of a shame. Like, almost like when they tried to rebuild MTW with Sonic and all of that stuff.
Okay.
I was excited for a while, but there are other people I've talked to out there who were sort of, expressed an interest in maybe playing again, and I thought, oh god, this is going to be fun. Doesn't seem to really happen. But Markelov is playing well. That's really the only point I wanted to make. There was no other reason to bring up Flipside. I feel like I think Cloud9 and Dignitas are the best to go out of Group B, basically.
Mm-hmm. You think so? So you think Cloud9 and Dignitas?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think FaZe, if you look at the lineup, they're so mad. Like, just between Rain and Jacob, I feel like they're so good, and like everyone on this team is so good. Sure. So best of one format, obviously. There's almost no predicting how dangerous FaZe is going to be. But if we're just trying to bring some logic into it, I think it's probably going to be Dignitas. So,
I mean, Dignitas, you can't. It's not even like that's a stretch, though. You've got Cajun B on the roster, MSL calling the shots again, Magisk boy, doing really well. So I mean, there's definitely it seems very, very even. You're right, very even across the board here for the remaining 3 teams in the group. I mean, basically through the group. Group B feels like any given map, because let's not forget, it's again GSL format, best of ones. And so, you get on a good map that you're comfortable on, you win 2 maps, boom, you're through into the playoffs all of a sudden, right? And any of these teams are capable of having a really sick performance on one map that will just kind of carry them through. I mean, even Flipside, maybe at one point, Blade figures out how to unlock like the Super Saiyan 3 level that World Edit just keeps hidden down deep within, where he knows that if he unleashes it too often, it's just going to destroy the world, right? He can't control that power, and so it just comes out in like brief flashes, right? And just dominates a map. Maybe that's what happens. Flipside get into the winter match, World Edit comes alive, powers up, and then just disappears again in the quarterfinals, and obviously just wrecks the tournament, right? But
just saying that Flipside are playing Cloud9 first. That's their first game.
Oh, never mind. They're gonna
that's gonna be tough. But yeah, it's always a possibility. I mean, they know that that's coming, so they have a chance to prepare for it. It could be tons of fun. Is there anything else we need to cover? Because I feel like, how long have we been going on for now? I think
about an hour now.
Yeah, I feel like we made a pledge to not keep these episodes too long. There is one thing I wanted to address, just because somebody, I think Nassar in the chat was asking, in Twitch chat was asking, why haven't you guys been doing so many events lately?
Yeah.
That's a relevant question to bring up, I feel like, and it's sort of an intentional thing from our side, because obviously we wanted to relaunch this whole Room on Fire thing, wanted to get everyone on board, and that took still is taking a fair amount of work, I would say. And then also just to, I guess, in some ways also just to sort of keep ourselves a little bit fresh, make sure that we weren't
sane.
Sane as well, and not overloading ourselves with too many things. It's also hard. I feel like personally, at least, it's very hard to improve your sort of commentary game if you are literally traveling 1 week to the next from tournament to tournament. Like, the mistakes you make, you're going to keep making because you can't, necessarily, you don't have time to reflect or think about anything. So yeah, there was some sort of intentional choice going on there to say, let's cut back a little bit and try and do that.
I mean, we've been going for so long. Because even at the end of the year last year, right, we had been going for like 5 months straight, and then we're like, okay, we'll have January off, right? We'll take some time off in January and be home for a while, and then it was like, nah, first week of January, every week of January actually, just straight up, and then it was again just like we haven't stopped for a year. This is by far the longest period of time I think we've had at home in a solid like year and a half to 2 years now. So
Yeah.
it's I think it was just a necessary thing to take a little bit of a step back, guys. Well, I mean, quite a big step back. Just be able to spend some time at home, watch the events rather than be at the events. And we're not going anywhere. We're getting active again basically towards the end of this month. Obviously with New York, the announcement has just been made, so it's cool. We can talk about it, but we'll be attending ESL New York. And then from there on out, right, we will be back on the road. So right now it's more just like take a breath and focus on Room on Fire. You're right, because Room on Fire has taken a lot of work to get to this point, and so we're really just focusing on that and kind of like figuring out what it is to just live in the same place for a month at a time, like a normal person. I don't know, like just that's the thing. It's actually a little tricky.
Yeah, but I think that's a reasonable question. I feel like so not too bad to sort of bring that in there. I don't know if there's anything else of excitement that we haven't necessarily covered yet. It feels like all the rest of it is a little bit further out. Stuff like ESL New York,
Yes.
obviously going to be super sick and super cool, and I definitely really, really, really look forward to it. But it's still maybe just a little bit further down the line, so maybe we can just save that discussion for a little bit later.
Yeah, we can. Well, I mean, we can pick that up next week.
Yeah.
So, guys, thanks for tuning in. That's going to be it for this episode. And we'll be back next week with State of CS. Theorycraft, Coffee and Semmler, all of that. Just, stay tuned. Be sure to follow the channel here if you like State of CS and watching it live. But definitely be sure to click the button. If you're on the Twitch page, there's the button at the bottom there with the YouTube. Link to the YouTube. Everything's getting loaded up to the YouTube. Everything is there that we're doing right now. And also, we're putting it up on Soundcloud. And so if you missed the beginning of the show, you wanted to hear what we were talking about then, you can always just go and download it on SoundCloud, have it on your phone. You're going to school, you're going to work, you're doing, dishes, cleaning the house. Boom, you can listen to the podcast. So thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you guys next week. Take care.